Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the latest in the Marketing Data 101 series. We spoke about tracking audit last time. And I think with tracking, one of the most important things is making sure that not just you can track it, but that your analytics is up to scratch as well. So today we're going to look at web analytics, and we're going to go a little bit deeper and look at pixel tracking as well. So without further ado, I shall hand over to Tommy, and he'll take it away and tell you a little bit more about web analytics.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, so we're going to talk about web analytics and pixel tracking today because we previously talked about audits. So, you're going to be auditing and then seeing where you're missing and, hopefully have a measurement strategy even before that. And you're going to be wanting to really maximize your tracking to support your marketing efforts. So I'd say I'd categorize them in three sort of areas. You've got your analytics tools, your ad platform tools, and possibly our CRO UX tools. There's probably more, that's hence the main part. You can probably do tracking to your email platforms as well, and et cetera. And there's loads of other tools like lead forensics and all that. But just put it in three main categories. And I say the big wins, the ones you definitely want to be maximizing. But we're going to focus on particular analytics and ads because that's where your majority investment is going to be in. What we want to talk about here is basic, intermediate, and advanced tracking. And that's going to get your analytics and ads. So basic, you've probably just got a simple configuration tag on all your pages, or a page view tag for your ad platforms. You're measuring maybe one event, one key event, like or conversion event, whatever you want to call it. So both your GA4 and or your analytics tools and your ad platforms like your Meta and Google Ads. So you've only got one event, that's it. And it's the fundamentals. Without that, I guess be questioning why you even starting your marketing. Then you move on to a bit more intermediate. The intermediate be like tracking a bit more sort of events, whether it be softer conversions for like your ad platforms, to measure against, in particular upper funnel, sort of for like meta ads and stuff. You might want to track sort of softer conversions to help with the algorithms, or also just other sort of events that indicate user experience or support with conversion rate optimization. So, and that's more for analytics tools, but also can be applied to sort of ad platforms for like remarketing purposes and that sort of things as well. You want to be making sure you're collecting the best. I'd say not every metadata because that's a bit too extreme, but you want the best metadata to help with understanding your customers, understanding, breaking down the performance of that event, or just understanding a little bit more what that event's doing. For example, it could be a button click, but there could be a lot of buttons of similar categorization. Maybe you want to pass through click text, and that will help with analysis of your website, as well as your audiences, and therefore support with your remarketing efforts, which obviously is a very vital part for marketing strategies. If you've got a login functionality, this is more for analytics, but some of the pixels, marketing pixels do accept this, passing through customer IDs and stuff. We are limited with cookies at the end of the day. They have very short expiration, in particular more for Apple devices and that sort of stuff. So you want to be able to help these tools backstitch that user data as much as possible. Again, there's some instances you might not want to do it. Different websites, how they're built and structured. Not going to go into technicalities, but if you do have that available, 100% should be passing that through to each of your tools if each of those tools accept that. Advanced is to start off with is thinking about enhanced conversions. Enhanced conversions is a Google terminology, but it's not limited to Google. Actually, most tools, even Microsoft Ads, Meta Ads, and that's not just server-side CAPI. They accept user data. So if you've got a form submission or an e-com purchase, for just two examples, passing through personal identifiable information in the correct fields, so it's accepted in a specific manner, will help them to sort of better attribute basically back to campaigns in a nutshell, and therefore make your campaigns work harder and do better. So it's definitely a tracking recommendation. And a quick win, I'd suggest as well. So although it's advanced, it's actually pretty simple, but I like to put it in the advanced, just checking you've done it. But make sure you've done it manually. Don't let it scrape. Don't do anything like that. It's got to be done manually and via best practice techniques, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. and then start moving to server side, or doing joint server side and client side if for certain pixels. But yeah, doing that is going to have a bunch of benefits, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And if you've got an offline conversion point from an online perspective, so a lead gen form that then leads to a sale, but that's offline, you're going to be wanting to pass that through, right, and optimize towards. So yeah, look at offline conversion tracking and try to set that up. It's definitely a recommendation for to be considered advanced in a tracking perspective. Okay. Let's talk around sort of advanced tracking techniques, and we're going to talk around Google Tag Manager, but all tag management systems do have their own similar sort of method, scripting, whatever you want to call it. In this case, Tag Manager has something called data layers. It's a bit of snippet of JavaScript code that can be added to the website. So be a web developer sort of adding that in, and then they can dynamically generate. First of all, make sure it fires in a robust manner, which will mean it will improve event counting accuracy. A classic example: if you use a regular form submission trigger in GTM, it doesn't do it on successful form submission. It will just do it if a user clicks the button. So, for example, if they don't put the mandatory fields, they click the button, it will fire. They may not actually ever complete the form. It could be a bot or whatever, and you've just inflated your form submission on that form. So yeah, it's important to do it and there's other ways to do form submission tracking, on thank you page and stuff, but even that's not mega robust. Yeah, data layers and developer techniques, they can make sure it's done only fires once on success, and so that's going to improve your event counting accuracy. It will enable you to robustly capture the metadata that we were speaking before, and that intermediate advanced parts. So yeah, developers can do it in a way that and clean it and normalize it for you, and all these things that is going to help. So yeah, you want to do it, via data layers rather than scraping the website and things like that. It's generally considered best practice. And then yeah, it can also make sure that you can get additional metadata that you wouldn't otherwise get from the website. Think about a user ID like we were talking about before. That's not going to be available on the front end of your website. You can't just scrape that. That's going to come from your back end or like a CRM or something. So the developers are going to be able to get that for you, right? So they'll be able to get that after you've done an event or on a certain page, and then they'll pass that through for you via a data layer. So really important, yeah, to get this information. You wouldn't be able to do that with regular scraping on a website via your tag management systems. It will future-proof your tracking. Websites change, and that means functionality changes. Tracking can break. If you've got like a regular sort of trigger in, for example, Google Tag Manager, one thing changes, that condition is going to break, not going to work. The good thing with data is, yes, it could possibly, but usually with good documentation stuff, developers will make sure when they're changing anything that they'll probably see a comment, a note, or something, and likely will migrate it for you in the change, so that data layer event is migrated in the process so that it doesn't break. I'm not saying it's 100% future proof. I'm just saying it's better. So that's the difference there. Here's just an example code of what you can capture. Importantly, there's that user data part as well. One of the flag that's going to be really vital for like your Google ads and Meta ads and all sorts of ad platforms to enhance conversions and get a better attribution and make your ads work harder, basically. But you can pass through custom parameters, user data, etc. And there's different ways of doing this. This is doing it for an event, but maybe you might want a global event that's loading on every page, capturing content grouping and all this stuff. So it's there's different ways and best practices even within data layers. Now we want to talk around server-side tracking. Just quickly, what is it? In essence, most people have client-side tracking. They just put their GTM scripts, client-side scripts specifically on the website. That just goes straight to from your website to the tools servers, so like the Google Analytics servers, your Google Ads servers, etc. It goes straight, right? It goes from your website, the event happens, whatever the tag is, and it goes straight there. There's nothing in the middle. With server side, and this is just in a nutshell, we could talk way more complex here around server, but it's like a middle person, right? It's just something from the website, you send it to, it's still server. So this is all hosted server side. Usually a custom domain or something like that. Now it just gets sent to a server-side container, in this case, a Google Tag Manager container, but don't feel limited to just Tag Manager as the only system. That gets processed there, and then you set up your stuff there, and then that gets sent to, your Google Analytics 4 servers and stuff. So it's like client, server, server, sort of client, server. So it's just that intermediate step. And yeah, that's basically what it is in a nutshell. I want to talk around issues and then why server side is essentially really important. So we've got less data can be sort of collected nowadays because of cookie limitations. I'm just going to throw things like iOS limitations. That's Apple. Apple device and stuff super limited on data, but also ad blockers and things like that. It means you're collecting less data. Okay, cookie consent, unfortunately, you can't get around that. Server side is not a solution to get around cookie consent. You have to still respect users' consent. Um, whether it be cookies, it's still a data privacy thing. So, it's not a bypass by all means, but yeah, you've got less data. Cookie lifetime's less, and again, that's mostly due to tracking prevention technologies, particular Apple, but also non-Chrome. A lot of non-Chrome browsers as well now have it. That limits you not just only third-party cookies entirely, like you can't do third-party cookies on those type of browsers and devices, but more so the first-party cookies are super limited to like a day, 1 to 7 days, which is nothing. So attribution is really limited as a result. In particular in your tools like Google Analytics. We don't have that much control in terms of what data gets sent to these tools. Like you deploy these scripts, they're going to pick up a bunch of information. There is a little bit of control you can do, but you're limited, and it's not great, right? From a data governance perspective, particularly if you've got a lot of data security that you want, not great from a client side perspective. Also, things like website speed can be quite slow because you're putting all these scripts on your website directly for like client side, and they're loading a lot of stuff, and you generally got all these scripts loading. Tag manager container that's high up in your head. Yes, tag manager loads async, but doesn't reduce it that much in terms of website speed. So it's still quite slow. It's a big impact. Check your page insight reports. It's going to tell you your tag manager and stuff is going to be quite high up there, I suspect. So yeah, it's a little bit of a problem, but you got to do it because you need your tracking, right? Otherwise you're going in blind. But we'll talk around some positives with server side.
I
Let's
think
go.
before we get to the positives as well, I just
Yeah,
kind of want to dwell on what you just said there. And I think it's really important, not just that it's going to be harder to collect the data, but you're going to have less data or data of lower quality. And I think now when you've got that, you've almost got this one chance to get that data collection right from the individuals that are interacting with your website. Data is so important because it really helps fuel our customer understanding, the customer journey. It helps businesses grow. So make sure that when you take that one chance to get the data, you're getting everything that you can and you're getting the best possible quality of data. And clearly, there are ways to do that, which nicely allows me to hand back over to you to tell us.
perfect. Yeah, no, data is super vital. And the first point there, with server side, you can collect more data because talking around the ad blockers, so a lot of people using ad blockers. I think it's around 2 to 3% on the market or something like that. It's quite big in each, obviously, industry. Website could be more, So having that, restoring that data back, your conversions, your page views, your sessions, having that back is even as 2 to 3%, at least. I've seen it on average, even 8% really is a good ballpark. Not a lot of places say 30%. No, that's for very low volume data, and you're just lucked out that it went up 1 or 2, which on average looks surprisingly good. But 8 to 10% can sort of quite easily be regained back in your conversions and stuff just from server side tracking. You have to do it in a certain way to do it. It's not just any old server side tracking. I don't want to go into the technical details, but you do server side tracking in a way to bypass ad blockers, and that'll help you regain that. And also you can enrich it. So there's a second part to more data. There's data enrichment, server side. You're in a server. You can get stuff from your CRM. You can get stuff from XYZ. So you're ready. You get stuff from your data warehouse, like BigQuery, you've got access to quite a lot there, and then you pass that through to tag and enrich the data, so you get more data. So it's not just more in terms of volume, but enrichment as well. Yeah, talking about a cookie lifetime. So there's ways through server side to basically bypass the limits of things like those Apple limitations, iOS and stuff. So and non-Chrome browsers that they limit. So there's actually techniques with server side to basically extend the cookie duration. I believe it's up to 2 months. So versus that 1 to 7 days, up to 2 months. And it's still not perfect. 2 months is still 2 months. It's not like 6 months or a year. You know, you might have long journeys to conversions, but hey, it's a lot better. So that's going to massively improve your attribution, produce things like direct traffic, unassigned traffic, and like tools like Google Analytics. So definitely a nice positive to have. You're going to have more control. It's there, it sits there. Imagine data comes, hits your server side, then you can change stuff. You can say, no, I don't want that information going, you know, to your Google Analytics servers, etc. So you've got control there, like what gets processed. You can also send like non-consented hits and then process it there. You're entitled to at that stage. It's still an intermediary. So again, I mean that control. And your website's I wouldn't say massively quicker, but it will improve it because a lot of the tracking, like your GA4, for example, gets purely dealt with server side. So it will just get sent and it handles server side. So you no longer need to deploy the GA4 scripts, the GTAG scripts within the website anymore. Finally, we're going to talk around just offline conversion tracking. And I'm just going to give you an example here. You've got a Google Ads click, going to land on a website. You're going to fill in a contact us form. That's your main lead on your website. And you put your details in. You're going to go on to do some phone calls and then potentially lead to a sale, right? It's great. Like I said, in that basic tracking, we got up to the contact us form, but really that's not really providing value. That's just the first step of providing value, right? But that's not telling us lead quality or anything. So when we're sending that to Google Ads, that form submission, it's optimizing towards that, which isn't your final money maker. So it's yeah, it's not doing the best it possibly could. So it's important to sort of track these offline conversion events so you can actually focus on the final touch point, and you can do that. There's loads of different techniques and methods depending on the tool you're sending it to, and you know, we can, you know, if you want more information, feel free to reach out. We can talk around different ways you can pay for tools. But I'm just going to tell you a manual method, custom, of course. Manual implies quite technical, quite long-winded. You can pay for a lot of different solutions out there to sort of help with that. I don't know how good they are. They probably don't tell you how good they are. But you pay a fortune, you can go with them. But if you want to do it manually, you basically want to store marketing and analytics identifiers like cookie identifiers and things like Google Click IDs and these things. You pass that through the form submission and hidden fields. Maybe pass that back to your CRM where that's got all your sales data as well, and your phone call data possibly. Just as an example, you may need then you can export that, for example, in a Google Sheet and then send that to Google Ads. And maybe with the Google Sheet, you can use a tool to automate that or write your own custom code to automate that by a server. So it like loads that instantly via the, you know, the Google Sheet. So it's very up to date, very real time. Why? Yeah. So I've basically covered this, but yeah, you want to optimize towards your final touch point. Don't just, you know, not the, I wouldn't say first, but say mid touch point. You also want to analyze lead quality against your marketing. Like you can see lead quality in like your CRMs, like it'll give you like, you had this many form submissions to this many completions, and here's the in-betweens. It's great from an overall perspective, but you don't see it against your marketing performance. You'll be surprised how like a lot of paid has really bad lead quality. It's like, oh, we're getting so many form submissions, great, but no sales. So it's like, this is why it's so important to get that final touch point, but also see that quality and go, yeah, you're not really targeting the right audiences there, because clearly they're doing it, they've come through the wrong product or just not misunderstood something. And that could be a website optimization thing as well. That's why it's so important to get it in tools like Google Analytics 4 and back to your ads campaign to sort of help improve that process and making sure your marketing is targeting the right audiences. So yeah, that concludes this session.
Excellent. And I think we've really covered today the importance of getting hold of the right data, being able to track it end to end, but also being able to measure things as well. And this is really important if you want to be able to enhance that experience for your customers, also enhance your sales and enhance your brand. Getting the right web analytics in place is crucial. As always, we're here to help. So if you want to get in contact with us, all of our details you'll find on our page and you'll find below the video as well. I think next time we're adding some SEO to the mix as well. So a few other things to think about and to really help you improve the quality of those leads that are coming through to you as a business. So until then, thanks very much for watching, as always, and we'll see you next time.